Hi, I'm Claire, and I'm Princess Zelda.
And I'm just Isaac.
And this is
Make That Game,
where we pitch the latest,
the greatest
new video game ideas
that aren't ever gonna get made. But, Claire, not only do we pitch video game ideas, but also our fans pitch video ideas, game ideas.
That's true. Sometimes we do get really dedicated fans who write in to us at makethatgamepodcast@gmail.com and send us game ideas. And if we like those ideas, we read them right here, right now.
That's right. I'm about to read one from listener/fan Larry, who is, related to me. So this. I'm gonna have to provide some context to the listeners for this one. It's called Telebuppy the Platformer. And the idea is that you pick up and throw additional Telebuppies for additional jump. And Telebuppy is a character, I guess, that we talk about, who has the ability. I don't know where this stemmed from, but the character Telebuppy in Isaac's and Larry's speech is a character who can pull copies of themselves out from underneath them. So like they reach into the ground, pull up another.
Oh, okay. I was imagining them like birthing these people. So thank you for the description.
No. So like the gameplay mechanic here is that they can you can jump, and instead of getting a normal double jump, what you do is you summon a clone of yourself that you then jump off of.
Okay.
To get another double jump. And it's, I don't know, the game idea is only 2 sentences, but that's enough. You can send in 2-sentence game ideas. But I'm guessing that the number of Telebuppies that you can spawn for these extra jumps is based on how far you are in the game, like a power-up, like an upgrade. Like you start off with 0, then you gain more and more and more as you progress through the game until you're just hundreds of jumps at a time, sacrificing your clones to the spike pits.
Okay, yeah. I didn't actually expect it to only be 2 sentences, but I'm glad we had you here for context.
Hey, it is a vivid tapestry in my mind, partially because I have additional context into...
I was going to say, you helped invent Telebuppies.
Yeah.
Apparently. All right.
So, yeah, that's Larry's game idea. Clary. It's like, it's do you have a game idea?
I sort of do. I'm pretty sure I've pitched a game similar to this before, but hey, we are where we are, episode 59 is just, we've pitched at least 59 game ideas.
Yeah. Well, actually, we don't pitch them every episode.
That's true. So, I don't know. I've probably pitched like 50.
Yeah.
Minimum.
At least. Possibly more.
Well, more if you count rapid fire round.
Oh, we don't count those.
We don't
but
count
yes.
those. Anyway, so it's going to happen. Some things are going to be similar. Anyway, we were playing... Well, Isaac was playing Tears of the Kingdom, and I was watching him play, and he went into a dungeon that was dark. Like, you could only see some places. Like, most of it was dark.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, oh, it's like Kirby, because one of my favorite Kirby levels is in Kirby in the Forgotten Land, where you have to suck up a light bulb, and it's dark. And also one of my favorite levels in the PC game Frogger from like 2004, I can only guess. I don't know if it's actually 2004, but that time period.
Yeah, that sounds about right, because I'm pretty sure that we had the same Frogger game, but I had it on PS1.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I think it would have been earlier than 2004 even.
I think it must have, existed on multiple platforms.
Because when did the PlayStation 2 come out?
Gosh, if I know. Oh, this is a fun, this is a little sidetrack, but I think our listeners will enjoy this. I did not know what a PlayStation was until probably I was in high school.
Wow.
Here's what I thought, though, because kids would talk about PlayStations, right? Like, that's a thing that just was happening in the world.
You thought it was a station to play at, didn't you?
I did. I thought it was like, at home, at my house, I had like a little cook, like a fake little kitchen, or like my mom was a kindergarten teacher and she had like a little playhouse. area. So I thought a PlayStation was like a little area to play. Really, like truly, really. That's what I pictured when my friends were talking about, oh, what did you do this weekend? Oh, I played PlayStation. And I thought like, okay, you're like playing pretend, like playing house, like literally.
Wow.
I probably knew what it was in middle school now I think about it.
I was going to say at middle school, like you would make fun of your friends for perceiving them as playing pretend. That's baby stuff.
I don't think I ever interacted with a PlayStation though until I met you.
Wow.
I don't think so.
I'm the first PlayStation haver.
One of my friends had Rock Band, but I have no idea what we were playing it on because all the controllers obviously are the Rock Band materials.
Oh, right.
So that could have been PlayStation. I don't know. But anyway, I just thought that was a fun fact for everybody that I was just a little child being like, yeah, a PlayStation, where you do Legos and stuff. So anyway, so the game based on all that's
what we do here.
There was also a dark level on Frogger, that game, which had some really cool music as well, like very good ambiance. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say is I really love a dark level, and I was like, what if we made a dark level just a game?
Okay, all right, getting real ice level, but a game vibe.
Exactly. Hey, you said
I know this was one of my techniques.
A valid way to come up with a game idea. So it's called Lantern something. And the idea is
lantern something, folks.
The idea is that you have a lantern and that's the only light that you have. So basically, what do you like? It's not really fog of war, but kind of.
Yeah, I mean, effectively, like fog of war is meant to represent darkness and like, not knowing.
And so it's like a first person walk around.
Okay.
And I don't really know anything else, but except the whole game is dark. So like obviously you can get like power ups that would make your lantern glow brighter. So you can like see around your feet basically when you start. And there'll be like items you can get that like shoot light in different directions. But like generally speaking, everything's dark. Mm-hmm. And then I just came up with right now, it'd be kind of cool is like at the end of the game, like you finish the game and you get to see it all in light.
Oh, like you get to go around like the world that you just explored, but it's all lit up again.
Yeah.
And you can
be like, oh my God,
backwards.
That's what that was. Like, that's why I couldn't go through there or whatever. But like the game itself, the whole like point of it is to navigate it in the dark. And like, it would be fun to rediscover it in the light. And maybe there'll be some like fun little side tasks you can finish that way. But it's not the point. Like the point is to just like navigate the dark and do tasks and be clever and solve puzzles.
Okay. Possibly puzzles involving like using the lantern to like light objects in the environment. Mm-hmm. But like
very much like Kirby.
What if that takes away fuel? Precious lantern fuel?
Yeah, and I'm assuming
Do you think that's a thing?
Maybe. I mean, yeah, there's definitely like resource management involved and just like mapping maybe too. Like maybe there's like because I like map features, so you could like be marking things like where oh, I couldn't cross here. There might be like a mountain or like a building.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously sound is going to play a huge part in the game. So like footsteps and creepy things coming at you and like echoes and things like that will be really important. This is one you're going to want to play with headphones.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's Lantern Alley.
Lantern Alley. It all takes place in one alley.
That would be funny. That would be funny if somehow it did, but you couldn't tell. And so when the lights come on, it's just like, that's it.
Yeah. that would be like a fun little twist, like story-wise that you could have. Because you could have the whole adventure happen. And like in the game, like things are happening that wouldn't feasibly happen in just an alley. But like, the twist is, it was just your imagination got away from you. Like that big metal wall was just the dumpster.
That's actually really funny. I kind of like that. That's pretty good. All right, so everyone forget you heard that, so that when the game comes out, you're all surprised by the game big comes reveal.
Out, we don't do that here.
You're right. Sigh. I think we need to be less like maybe we would someday, or someone might.
That's true.
Who knows? All right, but Isaac. That was my game. Do you have a game to pitch to me?
Yes. Complicated somewhat by the fact that I've been juggling two ideas in my head and I can't figure out which one to say. And now they've both like merged a little bit because I've been like tossing them back and forth and like thinking about them while we've been talking.
That's an idea.
So yeah, I guess it's merged, but I'm gonna go with the more unique one, and maybe save the other one for the next time. So what this game is, I don't have a name for it, just like the mechanics, but it is like a real-time strategy, like mass battles game, which is also like a real-time action sort of game. So
I know what a real-time strategy game is, but what is a real-time action game?
So, like, an action game would be, well, Legend of Zelda is kind of an action game. Like, the
Okay.
actual combat of Legend of Zelda is, I would consider, like, what I'm thinking of in my head. Like, you control.
Does anything special make it real-time?
Yes. So,
Okay.
what's happening, you are commanding an army, but at the same time, you are also commanding you are directly controlling like the leaders of each of the units in the army.
Got
So
it.
you have a bunch of formations of soldiers, and then each formation has a leader. And normally in these kinds of games, they'd either be turn-based, where like you select a unit and you have it like move to a certain point on the grid or whatever, and you have them attack and like dice rolls or whatever happen. Or it would be real time where you like command this unit, like total war games. Like you pick a unit and you say, move over here, and then they'll fight with the other. And like the computer will control the individual guys within said units. In this game idea, it's sort of turn based. I know I said it was real time, but what happens is instead of like having the computer directly like dictate, like, oh, you have an 86% chance of dealing 12 damage to the enemy, like, regiment, you select a unit, and then okay, let me start from the top. It is a turn-based strategy game. However, when you select a unit to activate, you become the leader of that unit and then directly command that unit. Time is basically frozen until you select a unit. Then time unfreezes in a certain area around that unit, and then they can like march forward or battle another unit or shoot arrows, etc. And you are directly controlling like the commander of that unit. And then when you get like 30 seconds to do whatever, like fight the enemy unit, do as much damage as you personally can, command your soldiers to get in the fight. So like it's 100 guys and all AI controlled against the enemy unit. Let's just assume single player, so they have 100 guys too. Man-to-man fighting. You're running around. You're a player character, so you are stronger. Like, you are smarter than all of them, so you're running around. You kill like 7 guys yourself. Then 30 seconds is up. Time freezes again. Zooms back out. You pick the next unit to resolve. Have I made any sense since I tried to recalibrate from the beginning there?
Yeah, it makes sense just now.
Okay. I'm hoping the listeners are picking up what I'm putting down here, but it's a mix. It's at the same time like an action, real-time strategy, turn-based game, which is a lot of like genre words to throw out there. But
yeah, and I think it'll be an interesting like audience for the game.
yes. Yeah. And then like there's quirky things like from a design perspective, there's quirky things that either need to be handled or just let players run away with. Like if unit A, you select them for like their turn, they activate, you're the unit leader, you charge into unit B, enemy unit B. You fight them for 30 seconds, you do some damage. Then you activate your second unit, unit C, and charge enemy unit B again. Like you have 2 units focused on the same thing. Time unfreezes for like unit A as well. So you can have 2 units. Unit A basically gets to attack twice. Is that something that the game designer wants? Or do we like disable that, make that not happen? Or do we do something to like work around that idea?
Or something that Claire just doesn't understand at all.
So right, the idea is you have a bunch of units like on the board. You pick a unit.
Yeah.
You control them. Time like basically time is not moving for anything until you are controlling a unit directly. If unit A goes to fight unit B, Well, you like so time is unfrozen. Unit B is fighting back because they're in that bubble of like unfrozen time. Then you select Unit C. They have their own bubble of unfrozen time. If they approach Unit B, they unfreeze time for Unit B, who's fighting Unit A. So Unit A unfreezes again, but you're not controlling them directly this time.
So I think you're thinking too much like Warhammer. I think it's actually way more simple than that. And
You think so?
Well, I actually did not even imagine that you would have different units of activation. That like when you said unit, I pictured like army. Like you're controlling an army, almost like the strategy game you pitched a few weeks ago, where you're just setting up your army and like what moves each kind of infantry is going to do, and then you as the leader would be, because like realistically you can't fight in every single unit either. Like if you're trying to make it this kind of like I'm the leader, I'm the king riding into battle, you know, like you would have a force behind you.
Yes. So that is traditionally how games like this are set up. Like you command one person and like you have the ability to give like nearby people orders.
Well, made it sound like there were no games like this.
There's no games like this because there's no games that use you are all of the unit leaders at once. As far as I'm aware, nothing uses like this pretty unique mechanic of both combining like turn-based and real time.
Okay, that's what I thought. So because of that, I don't think you need to have multiple units in battle. I think that's more confusing. I think just have one unit, like Army A battles Army B. You set up all the moves for each one, I guess, but like you all fight at the same time. So
but then you wouldn't be able to control the different unit leaders.
No, you wouldn't.
But that's the unique mechanic
leader.
here. That's what my game idea hinges around being interesting.
I thought it was that it switches between real-time strategy and real-time adventure. Not adventure. Whatever it was.
Action. I call it action, which is like a generic label.
Yeah, so I thought that was the whole thing it hinges on.
No. Its big unique thing is the combination of the turn-based and real time.
Okay, so I think you can keep that without having every single unit activate individually. The other way you could, I think that's the only way you can do it.
I think I could do it.
Well, you could also just make it illegal for you, like once you attack one of the opponent's units, you can't attack them again each round or whatever.
Right.
You can make it not like Warhammer where like, okay, Unit A attacks Unit B, and once they're done attacking, it's an automatic retreat. So then, like, anyone on the board can move again. Like, they do their attack, and then it's an automatic, like...
And then they bounce away from each other?
Yeah. Not retreat,
that's one of the things. That's why I said that this has some interesting game design hurdles beyond just what I've said, because, like, that is a completely valid way of doing it. Or do you just want to let the player, like, go wild with it? And have to deal with this reality where, like, in normal use case, everything gets to act for, say, 30 seconds at a time. But you can chain things together and, like, theoretically have one unit ultimately act 10 times for a total of, like, 300 seconds or 5 minutes of activity, which gives them, if they're a strong unit, a huge advantage. Is that a game? Is that something that the designer wants to happen, or do they want like the retreat mechanic like you said, or do they want once a unit has activated they like don't unfreeze, like they can't be interacted with anymore, so like even if you brought a second unit into the melee, like the second unit gets to fight the enemy unit, but the original unit's not involved anymore. So like interesting questions as a game designer to ask. Hey, game designers that are listening, think about this. Send how you would resolve this situation. This is a call to action.
Yeah, send it in our email, makethatgamepodcast@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Instagram or TikTok.
And speaking of questions, I know that's a pretty big question, but do you have any big questions for me to answer off the top of my head?
I do, and I'm trying to frame it in a question. I guess the question is like, what are the game design considerations that are made when creating a game in regards to the consoles / I don't know, like, because also like PC, phone,
like the platform.
Yeah, to the platform that the game is to be on. And does that ever change based on like what's available, or like how, like do people plan to that they can, like, do game designers plan on multiple platforms at a time, or ways that their game can become for other platforms? Yeah, that's the question. Sorry for fumbling it, but
No, that makes perfect sense to me. So yes, when you are designing for the console, there are certain considerations that you have to make from the get-go, like control scheme. Control scheme on a console, completely different from like keyboard and mouse. But also on a PC, you can use like a controller anyways. So like this is less of a consideration for like a PC game because like, yes, you should probably provide controller support, but you don't need to think about it purely in terms of the controller.
which is probably why a lot of games seem to start on PC. Like if it's like a super new game,
Yes.
you hop on that Steam.
And then sometimes they have like pretty bad support for like controllers just because they didn't think about it as hard because they were like, well, we're primarily a PC game. So like the controller, like there's a bunch of stuff that you have to consider about like comfort and like actual physical ability of like reaching different buttons at the same time. Like if you make it so that you have to, I can't think of an example, but like there are some pretty unique hand configurations that you can do and just be generally uncomfortable. Or
my thumbs have been sore ever since we got Tears of the Kingdom. I'm not even kidding.
You are building up the gamer muscles, don't you worry. Navigating menus, very easy on PC. Probably want to make some considerations for it. Well, actually, you're intimately familiar with this one. Bear and Breakfast.
Yes.
You had to navigate all those individual menus, whereas on PC, it's click, 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 click. Oh, I'm done. Whereas on Switch, it's like, hold down the R button, press the D pad, press the A button, hold down the L button. Like,
it was ridiculous. They truly, like, that game should never have been released on anything but PC. Like, I should have been forced to play it on a computer because there's no way.
Yep.
But it also kind of, to kind of just like talk through it, like I'm thinking, so I loved The Sims, as listeners will know. And my friend got me a Sims Wii game. And I remember that was like a really weird transition for me to not be using mouse because Sims is like very mouse based. There's some keyboard commands I use too, but like it's mostly like mouse clicks. And I mean, my mom used to be shocked at how fast I could navigate The Sims just because I was so used to that interface, right? And even now playing Sims 4 is kind of hard because I was so like tapped into the Sims 2 commands. And then one of my friends, oh wait, no, I did. I played Sims on a PlayStation once. The memory, it's coming back. I did it.
On a PlayStation?
Yeah, it was terrible.
Wow.
I remember my friend, I think it was Sims 3. They had it on PlayStation. They're like, oh, want to play? And they gave me the controller. And I was like, this is the worst like interface I've ever experienced with Sims. Like, it was just terrible. And so, like, I do think there's games where it's nice to have access on different platforms depending on what you have. But sometimes it's like, please just keep it on the one that makes sense.
The thing that always blows my mind is StarCraft, which is a real-time strategy game, had a port to Nintendo 64. And I just cannot comprehend how that works. And so here's another thing to consider about consoles. Sometimes the controllers suck. The Nintendo 64 controller, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I advise everyone to Google that.
I'm going to Google it.
As soon as you get safe. The fact that so many people's childhood revolves around the N64 just amazes me. I cannot imagine how I would even hold that.
This is real?
Yes.
I thought this was a meme. I've been seeing it and I thought it was AI generated.
No.
I literally thought this was a joke.
Yeah, the 3 prongs, the control stick in the middle that you have to grasp around the central prong.
What? Listeners,
yes.
I truly, I've seen this on the internet and I thought it was an AI generated meme.
That's real. An N64 controller is real. So, anyways, other considerations, consoles usually have much more limited hardware capabilities. So, you're not looking to have top-of-the-line graphics. And if you're starting from a console perspective, you need to make sure that your graphics are, like, optimized. Or your graphics and, like, a ton of other things, like physics simulations can be incredibly taxing. You have to make sure that the physics system that you're doing, the hardware that you're building for, can handle it without choppy frame rates. Like you see in Tears of the Kingdom, like Switch is kind of weak hardware. So Tears of the Kingdom doesn't have cutting edge graphics. They have highly stylized graphics. They look good, but they're not like pushing any envelopes.
No.
And sometimes it stutters. Like you get choppy frame rate because the game can't actually handle what it's simulating in the background, all of the different polygons that it has to portray. Like if you've got multiple enemies on screen, then you do an explosion and all those particle effects, and like a windstorm is blowing or it's raining or something, and you're doing a recall all at the same time. Like the game, the console can't handle it at that point. So like it chops down. And you're getting like 16 frames per second or something, or worse sometimes. Yeah, so that's one thing to consider. So like you can't make, I'm about to say you can't make graphically detailed and like physically detailed games, but Tears of the Kingdom's physics details are blowing everyone's minds. So I don't know exactly how that works, especially the fact that somehow Recall is keeping track of pretty much every object, at least in your immediate areas, like velocity, acceleration, transformation, like everything that happens to it. And you can have a lot of objects in an area. Like you can have so many objects, and it like tracks all of it for like 30 seconds. Like, what's going on, Nintendo? Please email us.
Email us. Oh my gosh, yeah. Nintendo, email us. No, I think that makes sense. I also have one follow-up question, I think, and then we can wrap it up. Is you mentioned a port, and I've been hearing the word port a lot, like games that are ported, especially, and I read an article recently that the new Mac OS that they're coming out with is going to have some kind of port something to help people with Macs play video games, because a lot of developers don't develop for the Mac OS. Anyway, what's a port? How does that work?
So I can't talk about the Mac OS
Well,
thing,
no, but I just mean in general.
In general, port is when you bring a game from one platform to another. So you port like a PC game, you port it to PlayStation. Like that's what Sims 2 would be.
Well, so is that different though than, because I feel like people use it to talk about things like, okay, well, like this game wasn't designed for a Mac, but we can port it to Mac. Or like this game was on an older version of a Nintendo console, like 64, but we're going to port it to Nintendo. Like, is that different than making different versions of the same game? Like if people release Sims 3 on like 3 different consoles, for example.
So for the most part, a port keeps, I'm going to use some programmer terms, but I'm also going to play it fast and loose. So if you analyze what I say too closely from a programmer's perspective, you're going to know that I'm like using these terms wrong, but I'm hoping that I'm using them sufficiently correct enough where it is accurate enough and makes enough sense. But a port usually maintains the same source code sans anything that is specific to like a PC to Switch port. Probably all of the gameplay they carry over completely. The rendering code might be different. Like the way it interacts with the file system might be different because the Switch might have certain requirements on like how you can access its file system for like saving and loading purposes. And like certain gameplay, like certain graphics options might be hard turned off because like they know that like the Switch couldn't handle it. But for the most part, it is the same game in like a very Theseus ship style.
Okay.
Or I guess un-Theseus ship style. Like not a lot of replacement is happening.
It's like they took the ship and then they just put like new stairs on it.
Yeah, for the like that, or like they took the ship from one lake to another, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, but then they also had to add like different things to the ship to
like,
make it make sense.
Right. Like, oh, this lake is shallower, so we have a shallower bottom or something, or it's more buoyant. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have said Theseus ship at all.
I don't know if the ship metaphor is working, but
it's not. All right, moving on. The difference between like that and like a remaster is a remaster will like create new graphical assets most of the time and might add new things to the gameplay, like sometimes as much as like new storylines in the game itself. Or like they'll just add some quality of life things like, hey, you can now in the remaster of Animal Crossing New Leaf or New Horizons or whatever, you can now mass create fishing bait 100 at a time. Like,
so it's like
it adds things.
So it's like how Link's Awakening on the Switch is a remaster.
Yes.
But Kirby Dream Land on the Switch was a port.
Yes. And then a remake. Sometimes remake and remaster probably mean the same thing, but like a remake would be like, we are making this game from scratch, new graphical assets.
So that would actually
new source code. Like,
so
nothing is this. This is the Theseus ship.
So that would actually be Link's Awakening then.
I can't remember if they have the same underlying like engine, like same underlying like gameplay source code, and then just different graphics.
Yeah,
rendering.
the graphics are so different. And I think when you were playing it, I think you said there was some difference in story.
There's difference in story, and actually now that I think about it, I think that the collisions are different, because if I'm remembering the speed run in Link's Awakening, the new one for Switch, you can get onto the windfish egg geometry and like do weird stuff with that, where that was not possible in the original game, which speaks to me as a remake, because they probably like had to make a new movement physics collision system from scratch.
I think I really want to see that speed. This is a complete sidebar. I want to see that speed run that's not a race. I've only ever seen it raced, and I feel like it's hard to pay attention to the actual like fun tricks.
I'm gonna have to bring up the one from last year. Maybe it was 2 years ago, but there was a Link's Awakening run like the night or 2 nights before GDQ 1 year.
Oh,
and it was definitely before we were living together, so you did not get to witness that.
Anyway, okay, so basically what it sounds like to me, to wrap this up, is that games are generally designed for the platform that they're going to like be like, they have an idea in mind, whether it's going to be PC or Switch or PlayStation 5 or whatever it is, and then they'll release it on that thing, and then they'll port it to these other things if it makes sense for the game in whatever like state it's in.
Yes, and sometimes they can from the beginning decide this game is going to be on PC, this game is going to be on Switch, this game is going to be on Xbox.
Cool.
And they might plan from the beginning the different capabilities of each one, knowing like the limitations of each console. Or basically what they can do is they can make the game for the lowest common denominator there, like the Switch hardware, and then it should run with minimal modifications on everything else, because the Switch is the weakest of the group. It's
funny, in having this conversation, I feel like consoles became like less cool. I always thought they were like the true gamer thing.
No, PC is for real gamers.
That's why that's why when people are like, oh, what do you game on early in my gaming life? And I was like, I don't know, just on the computer. And everyone's like, ooh, cool PC games. And I'm like, The Sims? I don't know. But
you're the gamer.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, that was a great discussion on game design and thinking through hardware of game design. Now, though, we are moving on to our final segment of this episode. It is called the Rapid Fire Round. And what happens on the Rapid Fire Round is that we generate 3 random words, and we only have 5 minutes to come up with a game that's all about those 3 random words, and we have to come up with a title, and that's it. Isaac, are you ready for our first 3 words? I'm not. So.
Oh, see, I set it up while we were talking about engines and consoles.
And it distracted me wholeheartedly.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
That's why I paused, because I was like, what's happening?
I was setting up the rapid fire round.
I was like, he wouldn't check his phone unless something was going on.
No, it's the rapid fire round. I was setting up the clock.
I was so confused. All right, I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Request. Asylum. Negative.
Ooh. This seems like a plot hook more than anything else, like a story hook, because like refugee requesting asylum, negative response, like you get a no, so then you have to figure it out. It kind of
sounds like Carnival Row.
Yeah, something like that.
But how is it a game? Where's the game?
That right? Cause that's what's hard about these like story prompts. It gave us a TV show, basically. The other thing that what it could be is it could be like a city builder type game, but the city is like a boat or a raft or like a refugee ship that you like continuously or a turtle you add on to. And
no, that's already a game.
So the plot, what?
The turtle game where you live on a turtle. That's already a game. Okay.
Wandering Village.
Yeah.
Yes. That's an onbu, please. It's not a turtle. But like the story being like you are refugees seeking asylum, but you constantly get like turned down at every like port that you go to. So you just live on your like big raft turtle system or whatever.
But like, what do you do on it?
It's a city builder. So like you collect resources.
What if I flip it? What if we flip it a little? So you are on your raft, but you're collecting the refugees, and that's the city building, and you have to like keep building out your city, and then like if you don't have enough resources, you can't accept certain refugees.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. That was a very fast agreement.
Well, because that's basically what I was going to go on to do. Like that's like the core like city builder kind of loop.
So basically, the idea is that you get rejected by something, so then you become the asylum.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was the piece I was missing. All right. Anyway, let's name it. It's called Earth Time. I love asylum. It's called My Big City. It's called
My Big City is not the vibe we're looking for with a refugee game. No. That makes it sound like it's a fun like little Polly Pocket thing.
Okay. Well, that's going to be my next game pitch next week. So
okay.
All right. A year in refuge.
Okay. All right. We're
getting somewhere.
Yeah, we're all right.
Look, I'm hearing a lot of criticism and not a lot of ideas.
I know. So. I'm trying to come up with something. I'm sorry.
How much time do we have?
We've got 2 minutes, so we've got like plenty of time.
Okay.
But like, so
Floating Haven.
I like that. With 1 minute and 58 seconds on the clock, we're gonna go with Floating Haven.
Listeners, I did have to close my eyes and like really picture myself on this raft to come up with that. So I hope it's appreciated. Okay, great. Well, that was our first one. Are you ready for our next 3 words?
Yes. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Flock, man, desire is a farming game. It's a sheep farming game.
Ooh, see, I went with a completely different direction. Right, I also did not go in that direction.
Okay, you go. What was yours?
So in tabletop wargaming, the act of applying, there's a material called flock. You add it to the base to make it like grass. And most, what was the third word?
Desire.
What was the second word?
Man.
Okay. Most mans desire wargaming. Okay. Tabletop wargaming. Most mans desire tabletop wargaming.
That sounds like a weird mnemonic because it doesn't make any sense. I don't know what it's helping us remember, but
and in order to tabletop wargame, you do need fully painted and based, therefore flocked models. Therefore, this is a model building and painting and flocking simulator.
So it's like Barbie fashion show, but for wargaming is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
And that you're just designing models and basically.
Yeah. But like, for some reason, this is going to have highly in-depth like physical simulation for applying the basing material specifically. Like painting is going to be super easy. It's just like brush strokes will apply paint. But like the actual glue and sand and flock you apply to the base will be like down to the finest detail, as much as computers can handle, be physically simulated in a realistic way.
Okay, I'm going to let you have it because I really want to name it Most Men's Desire Wargaming or Most Men's Desire Flocking.
Okay.
No, you hate that?
No. It's most man's desire.
Sorry. Most man's because
the plural of man is man's.
Yeah, it is man. It is singular man in the word. So yeah, most man's desire.
Wargaming. Most man's desire wargaming. MMDW with 2 minutes and 37 seconds on the clock.
I did like my little like cozy sheep farming simulator, but
I know that's
hey.
probably the one that makes more sense, but sometimes we got to go out there with these ideas.
Sometimes we got to think outside the box and really let our minds take us where they're going to take us.
Yeah. Because, like, next time we get the flock word, we get to use the sheep one.
Or
we've already done the weird wargaming one. Instead of like having a new cooking game every episode, you know?
Yeah. We got to keep it. We got to keep the cooking to a minimum. All right. Are you ready for our next 3 words?
Yes.
And our final 3 words.
In 3, 2, 1.
Oh, no. We got a cooking word? I thought we would. I jinxed
it.
But
I
not
jinxed it.
We,
I literally said.
We can definitely work around it. So post.
Okay.
Sodium. X-ray.
Okay.
But let's also not make a social media game.
It won't. No.
Okay.
It's no.
Because we've done that also at least twice.
No.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying no, we will not make a social media or a cooking. What was the third word?
X-ray.
Okay. This is a doctor game.
Okay.
But it is after or post the examination. And you are reviewing the data, including X-rays and like lab results and stuff.
So it's like a diagnostics game.
It's a diagnostics game. So you see the sodium levels, for example.
That's a stretch one, but we'll take it.
And you can say, oh, you are consuming too much sodium. Cut down on the salt. Or else it will cause hyperheartism or whatever. I don't know. I'm pretty sure salt's like
that
ultimately bad for you.
Like a disease.
Hypercardiacism.
Yep.
And yeah, so yeah, you are just given a bunch of medical data and you have to diagnose. And if you get it wrong, game over.
I think this reminds me a little bit of the ghost hunting game that we saw at AGDQ.
Oh, yeah.
Or I saw.
Actually, yeah, I did not watch that one now that I think about it.
Yeah, but basically the idea is that you have like a list of possible specters that could be haunting, and based on the evidence, you have to like decide which one it is. So It's kind of like that. You'd have like some kind of database in the game of like actual diseases that the patient could have, and then you have to be like, okay, well, the blood work shows like higher levels of iron, so they don't have anemia, or the blood, so cross that one off, and then basically narrowing it down to the final one, which is pretty much what diagnostics is.
Yep, exactly. So, this is Dr. Medical Simulator.
All right, so it's called
Dr. Medical Simulator.
But DR, like his name is Medical Simulator. Dr. Medical Simulator.
Exactly.
Okay,
yes.
Great.
Yeah. We're going with it?
I guess.
You're giving me that one?
Sure.
All right, with 2 minutes and 35 seconds on the clock, Dr. Medical Simulator, the diagnostics game.
Yeah, I think we already know I'm going to name the episode Every Man's Desires Wargaming. So
yes. And then I will pitch that on my Wargaming stream.
Good.
Or not pitch it, but plug it so that there will be some crossover, because people will be like, Wargaming, I'm a man's who does desire wargamings.
It'll really prove our point.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, anyway, that's our episode. Thank you so much for listening. We have social media. It is at Make That Game Pod on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. It is makethatgamepodcast@gmail.com if you want to send us a little email. Send us a little email our way. We love to hear it. And by hear it, I mean read it, because it's not on audio. And then you can also find us on Twitch, twitch.tv/makethatgame. We will be streaming Angry Birds.
Someday,
but it's happening.
We have to hold ourselves to that. Listeners, hold us to that. Send us emails.
Yeah, email us every day we don't stream Angry Birds until we do.
A new picture of Claire playing Angry Birds every day until she plays Angry Birds.
Why would they have a picture of me? That's creepy.
Because that's what people do on the internet. They like do a new drawing of Link every day until Breath of the Wild.
Well, then they should just do a new drawing of an Angry Bird. But then that would ruin some of it, because I've only seen the red one.
Okay, then all right, folks. You hear
the whole point is
draw a different red Angry Bird every day.
Yeah.
Post it to our Gmail.
Yeah, or send us a DM on Insta.
Yeah, or post it to Instagram. Tag us in it.
Yeah. Anyway, that's how you can reach us, and I think I covered it all. So if you heard a game today that you were like, oh my gosh, I need to play that right now, we encourage you to get out there and make that game.